Good afternoon. Call to order. Monday, September 23rd, 2019, meeting of the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. We'll all rise and salute the flag. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the members of the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. Councilor Novoselsky. Here. Councilor Powers. Absent. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Here.
Here. Councilor Granasso.
Here.
Here. And Chairman Keith.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present.
We also have in attendance tonight Councilor Patch and Councilor Janino. Thank you for attending. So we have two items on the Affairs Subcommittee today. One that I definitely believe should be taken up urgency. Councilor Rotundo, I don't believe is going to be able to be here tonight, but one certainly needs to be taken up. If possible, we can take them both up. The first motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the following non-binding question be placed on the general ballot election. Should the City of Revere stop all new residential construction of apartment buildings 8 units or greater for 1 year? Any councilors wishing to speak on this motion? Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This motion, similar to many resolutions that are put forward before this council, I consider useless. It's, you know, if you want to put a binding resolution on the ballot, that's one thing. Non-binding is just what it says, a complete waste of everybody's time and money and effort. So I'm totally against this, and you know, I'd like to see it killed, but you know, it's the will of the council to do what they wish. But I just, you know, again, if it was something that had some teeth and you were actually trying to do something, fine. But to just, you know, just ask for, you know, a what is a non-binding resolution? What does it do? It does nothing. So I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo. Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The obvious is the non-binding resolution is simply a mere finding of a poll. It doesn't have any merit. But I indicated prior to the hearing last week that in conversation with the city clerk, in her conversations with the director of the Election Commission, that there wasn't enough timing to get this onto the ballot. You need 35 days in order to get something submitted to the proper authority. If we approve it after tonight, by the time it reaches the mayor for signature and go ahead, would be sometime on Thursday, and it's clearly wouldn't give us the ample time to give us to put this on the ballot. And there is some substance to what my colleague from my left says in terms of a non-binding referendum. It gives a false pretense to a lot of people would be maybe confused as to what its being is, and just say, had it passed, and then there's no action taken, people would have been, some people, I would believe, would be thinking that they got deceived. So my opinion is, it's late in its nature in proposing this, and I would not vote for it at this particular time. I would vote for it in subsequent years, absolutely. Get the impulse of the people.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I agree with my two colleagues on my left. It has no meat to it, and if you wanted to stop something, you know, you're actually stopping it and putting a wall up in front of it. And I don't think that's appropriate. You know, the courts usually tell us you can't stop people from doing things, but you can control things. And this does not tell them, say, what you want to control with it. It's a absolutely stopping of all progress of the city infrastructure and growth. And I think it's very, very important that we not stop it, and that we keep things rolling. You know, we have to move forward, and I will vote against this to bring it out. And just, you know, for time-wise, you know, for Council President, we're in, I believe, in day 43. So like he said, when the time it gets to the mayor, by the time it gets up to the city solicitor, and by the time he gets something put together, it's putting the election commission, it's handcuffing them and putting them in a very bad position. People are looking for their absentee ballots, and I don't think it's the right time for it. And in this case, I'm not for this at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And it seems like the will of the council, or the will of the subcommittee, is to vote on this tonight. And if I could offer my comments, obviously I feel the same way with it being a non-binding question. It could cause a lot of confusion and disruption, especially this is going to be a major election, we all know that. And it's with 43 days out through the Election Commission, they need to have their ballots in hand with 35 days out. There's people that are going to be getting absentee ballots overseas. We don't want to slow that process down. So my opinion would be this isn't going to carry any weight. It really just would be an opinion poll, and I don't think that a general election, especially a mayoral election, should be used for that circumstance. So with that, I would like to take the roll on this, Madam Clerk.
Sure. On the motion, Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Powers is absent. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
No.
No. Council President Guanasso?
No.
No. And Chairman Keefe?
No.
No, the motion fails.
All right. And the second item tonight is motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor provide the emails, names, and addresses of all 311 inquiries made to the city of Revere. Further note that each and every 311 use signs a privacy release prior to using 311. Additionally, under the state records law, this is public information. Before I open this up to council, well, if I could just make some comments through the keeper of records. We found out that this is not public information, and these records would be redacted, or the emails would be redacted, so that the personal information is not public record, and that's not up for discussion. So I would imagine Councilor Rotundo would respect that, and I know he would. He's not here tonight, but we can talk on this matter, and we can go over it. Councilor Guanasso. Janino, Councilor Janino, pardon me.
Does anyone in the committee have anything before I go? I feel bad. I don't want to cut anyone off.
Councilor Janino, you're much nicer
Councilor
looking than me.
Janino's.
Thank you. Very briefly, I just feel that 311 is a great opportunity for people to voice their concerns, and especially if it's a sensitive matter. Maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's someone across the street, and people are afraid of retaliation or afraid of their own privacy. It should remain private. It's given to the right people, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily anonymous, but I don't think it's something you need to make public that you could potentially put people in harm's way and at fear of retaliation if maybe they complained about a neighbor doing work on the weekends or someone doesn't have a permit or something like that. It's just not worth it. And we want our residents to continue to feel comfortable using that and bring matters to our attention so we can make the community better. And I think it's a great service and they're doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly believe that 311 is an unbelievable tool for the community to use. I think once someone submits a concern to 311, they in turn interpret it and send it to the proper department for resolution. Now, the department receiving the request makes the determination whether the 311 request is valid or not. If it was something that was like a neighbor type of thing, if a retaliation would come into being, they would make that determination by knowing that it's a nonsense type of request. But more often than not, and I would suggest that 99% probably, of the 311 calls are for immediate concern and for people to rectify a problem and make it right. And so I think displaying, putting out who made that 311 call is unnecessary completely. And if it's in violation of the law, all more power to it. But I certainly think it's within the prerogative of the departments to make a determination if the request is valid.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Councilor.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To both of my colleagues, you're absolutely correct. And the 311 program is a very intricate piece of work for the city to be utilizing in being able to triage all the complaints that are going throughout the city. Some are public complaints and some are civil complaints between neighbors. And if people knew that this was going to be broadcast to everybody in some way, shape, or manner, knowing that some of it would be redacted, people would stop using the 311 system. And I would not want to see that happen. I'm a big user of it, and I know a lot of other people are, and I think it's very important that we keep it in control and appropriate. So I will be voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morbido?
Thank you. I'm going to sound redundant, but I would like to tout 311 as well. It's a great tool for the city, as Councilor Guanasso said. It's a data-driven tool, which we can access information like how many complaints, what areas, the locations, which I think that's the data-driven information that we need as a city council. But so many times, I'm sure my colleagues can agree with me, there are so many constituents who come to us and complain about their neighbors, or complain, and they want to stay anonymous because they have to live next door to that person, or they've lived with that person, whether they're some people have a messy backyard, and they don't want hard feelings between their neighbors. So you know what happens? They come to the city council. Now they can call 311 as well. But they don't want their information shared. Think about living next to a neighbor that you like, but they may have an issue with upkeeping their property, but you just don't want any hard feelings. So I think it's very important not to stay anonymous and to keep that information private for the sake of the residents.
Thank you, Councilor. And I tend to agree. Obviously, the private information should stay private, and I think we already agree with that. Oh, Councilor Zambudo wants to speak. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. At the risk of repeating myself from the council meeting, I think the 311 program has been fantastic. I mean, I've heard nothing but positive response from the residents. I was shocked that this motion was put in the first place, but the last thing I want to do is infringe on anybody's privacy. And a lot of people would stop using this if they felt that their information could be shared. So I'm against the motion, and for those very reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And again, I think we're all in agreement here. What I would do is I'll ask that we vote on this tonight, and we would vote in favor or not in favor. But what I would mention is, in talking to Councilor Rotundo, I think the spirit of his motion was intended to talk more about some of the closed 311 tickets that maybe shouldn't have been closed. So maybe later on in the next council meeting, one of us will present, maybe myself or Councilor Rotundo, we'll just ask for an update on 311 tickets that need to be reopened because they were inappropriately closed or accidentally closed. Because what happens is 311 closes them out when typically a department head or a department says the work is done, or they respond to it and then it gets passed along. And sometimes the work isn't done to the satisfaction of the person putting out that ticket. So we'll take that up another time, but if we can vote on this matter tonight, that'd be great. Madam Clerk.
Roll call the committee members on the motion. Councilor Novoselsky? No. No. Councilor Powers is absent. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
No?
No. Council President Guanasso?
No.
No. And Chairman Keefe?
No.
No. This will be an unfavorable recommendation to the full city council.
Thank you, councilors, and that will take up all of our legislative affairs tonight. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.